Well, you know, the steps you have to take in the transition are the same steps you would take in any case for good farming. And you know, the country is an abstract construction. Nothing happens at the level of a country. Things happen at the level of farms, particular concrete farms and farmers. So the beauty of soil is that it can be destroyed, but because it's living, it can come right back. I mean, I've been in hospital twice where with such serious issues and surgeries that the doctors gave up on me. And you know, yet your body bounces back. And the same is with the body of soil. So what brings life to the soil? Soil organisms. How do we build the soil organisms? Through composting, which means you start adding organic matter to do all kinds of composting. And you have to start doing the kind of planting that protects the soil. Chemical farming destroys the soil. Monocultures destroy the soil because too much is exposed. In an island like Bali, you know, they had Roundup-resistant soya. This island would be dead because everything's exposed. There'd be too much runoff, there'd be too much erosion, there'd be too much evaporation. So you've got to protect the soil through cover, which means mixed farming again. And that builds back the soil. And, you know, in 2 to 3 years, you get all the healthy soil organisms back.
They're microorganisms, they can sprout like that.
That's the beauty, they multiply so fast. So our farm, I mean, it was dead soil because it used to be a eucalyptus plantation and it was sandy.
There's a lot of that now on Bali. Eucalyptus.
But you know, we started work organically, and in 3 years' time the soil was alive with organisms. And there's a PhD being done on pollinators on the farm. We have 6 times more pollinators on the farm than in the forest.
Wow. Yeah. So you get better yields probably.
You get better production, you get better yields, you have more diversity, you have more water conservation. We are irrigating 70% less. We've reduced water use by 70% because now the water, the soil is holding the water. So it's benefit. I mean, there's a myth that organic can't feed the world, but the science and the reality is the only way to feed the world.
And on that, like, one of the things that I've noticed in Bali, and it's kind of an interesting situation, sort of their traditions are very connected to nature.
Yeah.
They put out offerings daily that include natural elements, but it's moved towards a commercialization of that tradition to the point where now you go to the upper watersheds and they're hydrangea farms, which used to be your montane forests, which would kind of conserve that water for throughout the dry season. And some of those things, it's always been a question of how to bring that up. If a tradition has been adapted and modified into sort of a commodification, how to make people aware.
I think that's where, you see, why are they doing as a hydrangea? Because hydrangea is probably selling for good money.
Yeah.
And that's where a new economics becomes vital, to count all the costs and take into account the externalities. And I mentioned the report on health per acre, which takes into account biodiversity, because most yields are measured in a monoculture. But we are now doing an economics on the true costs of monoculture commodity production. What is it that's left out?
Of course.
You know? And as a community, you need to take into account, because you bear that cost. It's just that you don't bear it individually, you bear it collectively.